Stanley, an underpaid, overworked night shift security guard, had seen it all, or so he thought. The janitor who had a nervous breakdown, raccoons breaking into the cafeteria, and even a ghostly figure that turned out to be a stray cat. But nothing prepared him for the call from the 13th floor. The 13th floor wasn't supposed to exist. The building directory skipped from the 12th to the 14th floor. A quirk Stanley Drilly joked was to save on elevator buttons. Yet, the call came from there, a soft but urgent whisper crackling over the radio. "Help me, please, room 1313. Stanley contemplated ignoring it, but curiosity and the weight of boredom dragged him to the elevator. He pressed the button for the 12th floor, intending to walk up a flight of stairs when the elevator lurched and began its ascent directly to the 13th. When the doors creaked open, Stanley found himself in a hallway frozen in time. Ornate Victorian wallpaper, antique oil lamps, and a chill that penetrated to his bones. Room 1313 stood at the end of the corridor, the door slightly ajar. Summoning what little courage he had, Stanley pushed the door open further and stepped inside. "Hello?" he called out, to nobody in particular. His flashlight flickered as if on cue, and the interior slowly revealed itself. A lavish room with red velvet drapes and mahogany furniture. But it was the portrait that truly caught his eye. A stern, pale-faced man with piercing eyes that seemed to follow him. Just as Stanley considered turning back, the door slammed shut behind him. Whirling around, he was confronted by a figure, tall, gaunt, and wearing the same attire as the man in the portrait. "Who are you?" Stanley stammered. "What is this place?" The figure smiled, revealing razor-sharp fangs. "Welcome to my den, mortal. I am Count Vladislaus, and I've been waiting for someone like you." Stanley's mind raced. Vampire? Here? In this corporate office building? It sounded like the plot of a bad horror movie. Count Vladislaus took a step closer. "You see, every building has its dark corners, places where the veils between worlds grow thin. You've stumbled into one such place." Stanley backed away, only to find his route blocked by another vampire. This one a woman, equally pale and severe. "I really should have seen this coming," Stanley muttered. A third vampire appeared from the shadows, followed by a fourth, until Stanley was surrounded. In a desperate bid to save himself, Stanley aimed his flashlight at the nearest vampire, hoping the old wives' tale about vampires hating light had some truth. To his astonishment, the vampire recoiled but then chuckled. "Did you think a flashlight would work?" Vladislaus sneered. Panic set in, and Stanley did the only thing he could think of. He tore down the velvet drapes, revealing a massive window. With a heave, he threw it open. Sunlight poured into the room. Count Vladislaus and his minions hissed and recoiled, their skin blistering upon contact with the daylight. Stanley wasted no time diving for the door, yanking it open and sprinting down the hallway to the elevator. He jabbed at the buttons frantically as the vampires screamed behind him. When the elevator doors finally closed, Stanley collapsed against the wall, heart pounding as the digital display blinked from 13 to 14. He made a promise to himself: never take bizarre, ghostly calls on the 13th floor, no matter how slow the night shift was. And maybe, just maybe, consider a career change.